and we'll add a Sunday section on as well today. We'll start with Matthew.
Morning.
Morning, Razor.
Firstly, the injury situation. Can you update us on Fabian Schär and Martin Dubravka in particular?
Yeah, Fabian came back having not played and not trained, but we've had a couple of sessions with him, so we think he'll be fit. Martin trained with us for the first time yesterday, so we hope he'll be fine.
Is there anyone else that you're worried about?
We've got a little bit of illness in the camp, probably like most teams have around the country, but we've still got a couple of days before the game, so we hope everyone will be okay.
And is John Joe Shelby now okay and back with you in contention?
Yes, John Joe has trained. He hasn't trained every session that we've done. I think he had a bad bout of illness. So we hope he'll be okay.
With him back and Bruno having done so well, he's played, Joe Linton and Joe Willock returned at Everton, Sean Longstaff played at Chelsea. How difficult is it going to be to select a midfield three, if it is a three, from those 5 players who are all pushing to start?
Yeah, it's a great position for me to be in. That midfield area has been a key area for us. I think it's been one of the strengths of the team without a doubt. I think we've had a really good mix in there of technical quality, physical attributes. Defensively, I think they've been very, very good. Nice problem for me to have. I've got to try and pick 3 out of those 5 if everyone's fit, and we decide to play with 3, as you say. Wait and see.
We haven't seen too much of Alan Saint-Maximin over the last 6 weeks. What sort of condition is he in, both physically and mentally right now?
Mentally, he's very good. Trained very well in the period that we've had away. We hadn't seen much of him. I think if my memory's right, he had a calf injury, maybe a groin injury, calf injury. And then he had, bad illness. And, whenever a player has a time away with that, it's very difficult to get them back up to speed straight away. So this break's actually been very good for him. He's trained very well, and we're excited to see him back.
After he came on in the last 2 away games, a lot of fans have been discussing his role in the team, particularly when used from the bench. And he posted on social media about how people forget quickly, but he knows what to do to make them remember. I think that's roughly what he said. What are you looking for from him now in these final 9 games? What do you need from him?
I'm just looking for the best Maxi, which is one when he is at his best, there's no one like him. We need him to physically be able to deliver that, and that's where we've been working hard with him. I've loved working with him since I've been here, and I think scrape everything away. He's a great lad, wants to do well, wants to achieve, and we're just trying to help him do that. He's such an important player for the team.
And going into this weekend, you're actually closer to the top half of the table than you are the relegation zone. How do you view the situation with 9 games still to play?
No, we're still in a relegation battle, and I don't say that in any way without meaning it. We need points. We've got a very tough run of fixtures ahead of us. I think we've got a difficult run in. So I think we have to maximise every game. We had a really, really difficult spell of games, a lot of away games. I think that's underestimated how difficult that period has been for us, especially around the Chelsea-Everton game. It just felt like we were constantly on the road. So be pleased to have had the time away to reset and now really focus on the final 9 games.
Thank you.
Pleasure.
Keith?
Eddie, you said there that there's a little bit of illness in the camp. Are you able to say whether that's COVID related?
That's right. Is that yours?
Yeah, it's fine.
There we go. We had a little bit of COVID, I think, during the break. I think like most teams, I think certainly with players and with staff, actually. But I think it's under control. As I say, with any illness of players, it not only does it weaken you physically, but also mentally. So it's building those players back up to make sure they're 100% when the game comes around.
Premier League clubs yesterday voted 5 subs allowed to be used from next season. What is your view on that? Is that a positive thing?
I think when you're managing, like I am, a big squad, if you're allowed to have more options, I think that's a very good thing from my standpoint. I think I really love the squad that I have, and the ability to bring more players onto the pitch and change things tactically. I think it enhances your ability to do that. So, I'm all for it.
Reports this week from a lot of us guys that Dan Ashworth will not take over now until later on in the year, meaning that you and the rest of the backroom staff, the board who took charge in January, will go will you be comfortable if that is the case again?
Yeah, whatever the situation is, I can adapt and overcome. I think I said when I first came in that for me, appointing a sporting director is a matter of urgency for the club, because I think we need those structures that help the club improve, and I think we have a lot of improving to do behind the scenes to get to be the club that we want to be. And that's in all areas. So we want to build the club, and to do that, I think you need the right people in the right appointment to happen. But in the meantime, I'm more than capable of doing certain things, and the transfer window was. I think the outcome has been very successful, and I enjoyed the process of how we got to that outcome, and I think everyone did a really, really good job. So I'm more than happy to do that again.
Thank you. Andy?
Morning, Eddie.
Morning.
We saw Sean Longstaff being mic'd up out in Dubai during a training session, which was great insight. I wonder how close we are to see Eddie Howe being mic'd up during a training session.
Well, I think I've already done that one with Bournemouth, and it was amazing, because it was when I did it. Remembering back, it was almost 10 minutes before the session. Oh, do you mind getting mic'd up? I said no problem. You know, put the mic on me, and then I think it sort of went down quite well, and there was a lot of reaction to it at the time. As soon as I was mic'd up, I didn't give it a minute's thought, and I'm sure Sean, once you're there, you don't really think about it. I actually watched it yesterday, bizarrely. I came across it and watched it, and I thought he came across very well, and it's thankfully it looked like we were working hard, so that was a good thing.
Apart from the sunburn, at least, for Sean. First time in a while, really, that Newcastle have had to kind of bounce back, I suppose, from those 2 consecutive defeats. I just wonder, in terms of a team's development and mentality, how intrigued you are to see how they bounce back against Spurs on Sunday.
Yeah, no, I agree. I think the 2 games we've had have been very different, but the same outcome. Obviously, narrow 1-0 defeats very late in the game. It's been a difficult one to take, especially both games were very difficult to take, because we felt we'd given a lot. The Chelsea game, defensively, we were excellent, and it was a very frustrating feeling. The Everton game, for the first half, again, I thought we were excellent. Second half, I think we fell away from those high levels, and now we need to regroup and go again in what is a very difficult game against an informed team. It's a really tough game, this one, and I think we need to be tactically very, very good. Antonio Conte's teams are very well set up, and they've got outstanding players.
You said you wanted the Dubai break to kind of allow the team to be re-energised and also to allow for team bonding. Has it had the impact that you wanted?
Yeah, well, I hope so. I think behind the scenes, I think we gave them a couple of days rest. It was a very intense period, so we gave them time to clear the games out of their system, re-energise, and then we got back to work. And the work in Dubai was very good. The facilities are absolutely incredible, as they always are when we go out there. We were well looked after. We worked them very hard. You know, the gym, and they've got altitude there, and so we took the boys to extreme levels physically. Came back and continued that work here. So I think the lads are in a good place mentally and ready now for the final run of games, and this is going to be a key stage for us.
And of course, some of the lads were on international duty. I just wondered, going forward, naturally Callum Wilson's still top of the goal scoring chart. He's been out since December. How encouraged are you to see Chris Wood getting on the score sheet a few times for New Zealand? Yeah,
brilliant for him, and I think it's worth recognising the fact he's become New Zealand's record goal scorer. Great achievement. So pleased for him. Knowing him as I do, he's a very down-to-earth, humble guy, and a brilliant professional and a brilliant team player. So he deserves that recognition, and I'm really pleased that he's done that, and the 5 goals that he's got in the period away can only do him good. So yeah, looking forward to seeing him again. I haven't seen him yet, but obviously we've communicated. But also pleased for Bruno to get his first goal for Brazil, and Miggy to score. So hopefully for those guys that have gone away, it's been a really good time for them.
Jamal Lascelles said this week that he would run through a brick wall for you. I'm sure you don't want that literally. How crucial is that sort of mentality from the players after such a long, hard season as we head into this final stretch? It should stand them in good stead, shouldn't it? Yeah, no, it's nice of Jamal to say that, obviously, on our behalf. But I feel we've got that bond, hopefully, with the squad, that we've all got the same goals, that we want the same outcomes. We're going to do it together. And also in good times and in bad, we have to stand strong side by side, and can't
complement the squad enough for what they've given me. Since I've come in my staff, I think they've been incredible. And now we've got to finish the job. We've got some, as I say, difficult fixtures to come, but I firmly believe we can do it.
And just finally from me, last time against Spurs, of course, came immediately after the takeover. You took charge a month later. I wonder, what's the change that you've seen at the club that you've been most proud of since that time?
I always say that's difficult because I didn't experience before, but I did watch that game, and I always believed that Newcastle had, looking from afar, some outstanding players, and I still believe that, and I believe we have the quality in the team to stay in the division, and that's what we're still working towards.
Thanks, Ed.
Thank you.
Hi Eddie.
Hi.
Can we have a further update on Callum Wilson and Kieran Trippier, please? And do you have a target in mind for Wilson in particular?
So Kieran today, I think it's today, has a scan on his foot to see how that's healed. So hopefully the scan goes well, and from this day maybe we can push him quite quickly to get back. So hopefully we get good news. We'll obviously keep you updated on that. With Callum, he's slightly behind Kieran, but he's still making good progress. He is back on the grass running, but I still think he's got a little bit more time ahead of him.
Do you still think we'll see him in action this season?
I hope so, but I can't tell you with any clarity that it's a certainty. But yeah, I hope he'll play this season.
Talked a lot about the trip to Dubai, you know, the bonding side, all the training. Was there a particular highlight for you of that trip? One thing in particular that you think could make a difference to these final games of the season?
Highlight. I think it's taking him in the altitude chamber and really seeing, if you know what that is, you know, it's where you're training with less oxygen and you're having to push the players. We did that on bikes, and you get to see a different side of their character when they're fatigued and tired, and how they're going to react to that intense piece of training. I've got to say, to a man, that the players did very well and came through that. And I do think when you take the players to extreme levels of fatigue, it's very interesting seeing their response, because there'll be times in games, late in games, as we've seen, in our last two games, where players are very tired and they have to really concentrate and do their jobs well.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Questions from the floor?
Sam Maximal, right? You obviously did a lot of work to get him fit because you didn't train us for about 3 weeks. Is he a player who needs to be loved but not indulged? Is that the kind of attitude you need?
I think every player needs to be loved. I don't think Max is any different from anyone else. I think the players need to be respected and cared for, and I think their own careers really need to be given the care and attention that they deserve. But I don't think any player needs to be indulged. I think there are barriers and there are lines that you don't want to cross, and I think you need to treat everyone, although you treat everyone differently, there's still a framework that you need to stick to, I believe, to get good results. And Maxi's been excellent. I've got no issues with him, and really excited to try and get him back to his very best levels.
And is he fit? Is he now fit enough? Is he at the level?
I'd say probably needs games, and we had the game out in Dubai, and then we had a training game back here, so he's had those two stimuluses, which I think he needed. So yeah, hopefully he's very close to being at his best.
Thanks, Simon. We've got Miles, Damien, and then Luke.
Bruno Guerreiro, in terms of the travelling, playing at altitude, is that going to be a factor in terms of whether he's selected to start on Sunday?
Yeah, certainly. I think.
Sorry, is he back yet?
Yeah, he's back. I haven't seen him yet, so this will be the first day that I've seen him, as with all the international players that have been away. Certainly, we'll take it on an individual basis. So I think the travelling times is probably the biggest concern. I know what I feel like after a long flight. So I think we have to just talk with the players, see how they feel, and then I'll make a decision based on that.
Damien?
Eddie, when you were talking about Alan Maximin earlier, you said he's not like anyone else. Is he unique, and do you have to deal differently with unique players?
Well, I think everyone's unique. I think no two players are the same, and everyone has different things that make them tick. Maxi is he's certainly a unique footballer. I've never coached anyone quite like him, and that's a positive thing. Some of the things he can do and some of the things he's done in the last 2 weeks training wise have been very, very good to see. But it's about harnessing that and trying to make that function for the team. But Maxie's very keen to make a difference. He's very keen to do well for the team. He cares passionately about the club. So, as I said earlier, I'm excited to see what he can deliver.
Luke, it's been a strange amount of criticism for him this season. How do you respond to that? St Maximin, I mean.
Yeah, difficult, Luke, for me, because I don't necessarily hear that or read that, and I think that's healthy for me because I judge what I see. And I've got very high expectations for Maxi because I know what he can deliver at his best. I've seen that, and I think you go back to the Everton game at home when he was absolutely electric that day. He was very, very difficult to play against, and so I judge him against those levels. And I think for a player of his type, the consistency will always be a slight issue because it's very, very difficult to do what he does. But as long as we get the buy-in from him into the team, and he's really committed to do the things that he finds more difficult, which will be obviously recovery runs and his discipline off the ball. As long as we see that, then we know the other stuff will take care of itself.
And how is Callum? Because that sounded like a bit more of a gloomy assessment of his situation. So you just find it difficult to make that step up from running to full contact, full training basically.
Yeah, it's not necessarily a gloomy assessment. It's more the type of injury that he's had needs time. We need to stress the Achilles and the calf in the right way, because I think if we do it too quick, then he'll re-injure himself. If we do it too slow, obviously going to run out of time for the season. So with Kieran's, it's more of a bone injury, and once it heals, he's good to go. The Achilles is a lot more delicate, so it's just, I wouldn't say it's a gloomy assessment. It's just the injury we knew, which is why I sort of gave you the update that I did earlier a couple of months ago to say that this will take time.
And that leaves Chris Wood as your only, well, not your only recognised striker, but the striker who's playing. How impressed have you been with him? I know strikers are judged in goals, but I know you value the job he does for the team extremely, extremely highly. Yeah,
I think he's been outstanding since he's come in. I really do, and I don't say that lightly. I always look at the player giving himself for the team, and Chris has done that. So when I look at the out of possession game plans that I've given him, his delivery of those have been at the highest level. He's filled in for players when they've not recovered, and he's taken a position. He's played left wing, right wing for us, and he's done that quite naturally. He's very much about the team and the result the team gets rather than the individual glory, and I think that's why I want him to have that individual glory as well, because he deserves it for what he's given us. And I've been so impressed with his start here.
Thank you. Martin, Lee, and then Oscar. Martin Hardy.
Sorry, Eddie, you had a good run and then unfortunately the last 2 weeks. But is the team playing with the style that you wanted to play?
I'd say that's a good question. In certain aspects, yes. In certain aspects, no. We'll grow into that. I think we're a long way from the team that I want us to be. And that's not criticism of the team. It's just to play the style that I eventually want will take time. But in the meantime, we have to get results, and we have to be effective, and we have to be very difficult to play against. And I think we've been all those things in the run that we've had. But knowing that there's a long way to go, there's improvements to be made, and I'm excited by what we can be in the future. But that's not to say that we're not delivering certain aspects of what I want long term now, because we are. I think we've been very, very good defensively for a long period of time, and the attitude and commitment and organisation that needs has been of the highest level.
Are we talking about possession, passing stats, maybe his fluency going forward?
Yeah, not necessarily passing for passing's sake. I want to see a team that is very progressive and that wants to score. Possession for me it's important, but it's not the be all and end all. It's having the right mentality and making the right decisions with the ball to try and entertain and attack and score, which is ultimately what we're here to do.
Lee Ryder.
Just wondering, you've had Lucas De Paul on the bench a few times, did very well for the under-23s the other night. Would you have any hesitation in putting a youngster in from the start at any stage?
No, I'd have no hesitation if I felt that they were the right selection to win the game. Now, Lucas is someone that we really like. He's been training with us for quite a long period of time. Very impressed with him technically. Watching the development game the other night, I thought he was technically excellent. He can play various positions. I'd say he has things to improve. But I really, really do like him and think he has a bright future in the game.
And just on some of the players that could be leaving, might not be leaving, would you stand in anyone's way if they did say to you they were convinced that the future was elsewhere? Would you stand in the way if they wanted to go?
I'd never stand in any player's way if they felt their future was elsewhere, because I don't think it's helpful for you, them, the club. You need players that are absolutely committed to playing for the club. Now, in saying that, it's got to be obviously on the right terms for the club, depending on the individual player's position. But no, but I don't see that from the group. I have to say, I see players that want to be here, that are desperately trying to stay with the group, which is a great thing for me to see.
And is there anybody that's going to be out of contract close to signing one? I mean, they're well publicised, the ones who are...
Yeah, well, I think we're in discussions with a couple of players that we want to stay. We want to try and keep the main group together because, as I said, the mentality of the group, the spirit in the group is very good, and I wouldn't want to break that up.
Oscar, Chris and then Louise.
Eddie, just back to Alan Saint-Maximin. I mean, it's sometimes levelled that he doesn't do the work off the ball, that sometimes he doesn't protect his fullback and all that. I mean, is that unfair, in your opinion?
Yeah, I'd say that's unfair because I think you have to understand each player's strengths and weaknesses. So Maxi will never be, you'll never make Maxi be like another winger. He's unique, and the team has to work around that uniqueness. So, and that's part of my job, is to try and figure out tactically how to make the team function while recognising people's strengths and weaknesses. So I think that is unfair, but that's not necessarily his first strength. So his strength, I think, is obvious for everyone to see, and we need to. Part of my job, as I say, is to emphasise his strengths and minimise any player's weaknesses. I think it's the same for everybody.
Another St Maximin question.
Yeah.
Is there a danger in over-coaching him? Because he's so wonderfully improvisational. Is it hard to strike the balance sometimes?
Yeah, I think that's a very, very good point. I think, and that's something from getting to know Maxi that I've had to learn quite quickly, because I think coaching him or over-coaching him is a negative. I think part of his part of the strength of Alan is that you can almost let him do his stuff, and he needs to be free to do that. You don't want him overthinking the game because his natural talent is so impulsive, I think. So I've tried to strike that balance right with him, while also giving him guidelines that he needs to deliver, which the team needs him to deliver. So I think it's quite a delicate thing.
Okay, Chris Wolf.
Hi, Eddie. You mentioned earlier how you've been so impressed with Chris Wood. Jamal Lascelles revealed earlier this week that on top of all the training charts at the minute is Dwight Gale. I mean, he hasn't had many minutes under you. How have you kept him motivated, and what does he need to do to actually get into the team as well?
Dwight's been very, very good in his training performances, and quite rightly deserves sort of recognition from me. He's someone that I respect greatly. He's a real leader of the group. Behind the scenes, his training performances every day have been of the highest level. His professionalism has been of the highest level, and he's an incredible finisher. I would say that he's one of the best finishers I've ever worked with, without a doubt. And he just needs to be ready for his moment, for his chance, because I firmly believe it will come. And yeah, I trust Dwight as well. I think on the pitch he will deliver whatever I ask him to deliver. He will commit to that. So I think you have your players that are playing, but the guys that aren't playing behind the scenes are so important to the culture and to the feel of the group. And Dwight's been pivotal in keeping that very, very positive, and he's been a big reason why the team's done so well, in my opinion.